So, good day everyone. I'm your reporter for today. I'm Abigail Limliman, and my topic is all about you're in no rush to get an MBA. So, yung topic ko po is para siyang story. Pakinggan na lang natin and makinig. So, when I was introduced by my student host, I stood up and briefly addressed the room full of second-year Harvard Business School students from all around the world. Surprisingly, I was the only prospective student among a handful to stand up during the pre-class introduction, adhering to what I thought was proper and respectful protocol. The other visitors were shy and perhaps a bit intimidated by the Ivy League crowd. Because of my display of confidence and cordiality, I received the warmest welcome from the students. In fact, when my host mentioned that I attended Morehouse College, a few students shouted with excitement. Other than this warm reception and conversation with students between classes, my campus visit to Harvard Business School in April 2007 was much different than I had imagined. So, um, yung isang student is na-introduce siya ng kanyang host and um, isa siya sa mga student sa Harvard Business School and yun yung campus na binibisita niya. So, yung campus na binivisit niya is yung Harvard Business School noong 2007, which is April. So next, that morning, April 12, I arrived at Harvard Business School a few minutes behind schedule. I forgot that the business school is separate from the main Harvard campus. It is located on the opposite side of the Charles River, perhaps a not so subtle indication of its latte status. So, nung morning ng April 12 is yung student is pumunta siya dun sa school few minutes behind her or his schedule. So, nakalimutan niya yung business school na nakaseparate from yung Harvard campus, and it is located daw sa Charles River. So after calling admissions and receiving directions from a rather unpleasant administrator, I found my meeting place. So yung students is after yung natawagan yung mga staff is natagpuan niya na yung meeting place niya. Yun yung the Dillion House. From there, a student host took me to class with her. On the way, she answered my questions and introduced me to some of her friends. So yung student, yung host niya is pinakilala siya sa mga kaklase niya, then sinasagot niya yung mga questions niya at pinakilala niya siya sa mga other friends niya. So after attending class, I found some old college friends who were now HBS students. So and they took me lunch. So after nilang nag-attend ng class is nakita niya yung mga old college student na friends niya na naging HBS students na, and tinawag nila ito para mag-lunch. So we passionately debated and discussed the meaning of life and the classic book, The 48 Laws of Power. Following that, I walked around, taking the sights and smells, visited the of HBS bookstore, buying an HBS t-shirt, managed to get lost in the underground tunnels trying to avoid the snow, and ended up in the library reading my Fortune small business magazine while waiting for my ride. That was my visit. So ginawa niya is nagbasa-basa siya sa library ng mga books, which is yung book na binasa niya is yung The 48 Laws of Power, and yung iba is bumibili sa bookstore, and sa library is napukaw yung attention niya dun sa magazine na Fortune Small Business. So next is, at the time, attending business school to get my MBA was not a top priority. After college, I was not eager to go back to school at all. Instead, I wanted to continue as a fearless young entrepreneur, growing my business and pursuing opportunities that required my full energy and resources. However, I eventually gave to the pressure of my peers, who thought it was the logical thing to do. Also, my parents encouraged me to get a graduate degree because the longer I waited, the harder it would be to return. And I had a highly inflated self-image. What bet what better way to massage my ego than to obtain an MBA from Harvard Business School, so I made the trip to Boston, where I grew up, in hopes that a campus visit would increase my excitement for HBS in particular and for graduate school in general. So, nung nag-attend siya ng business school para makakuha ng MBA is hindi niya top priority. After the college, hindi na siya bumalik sa pag-aaral. Then, ginawa niya is naging young entrepreneur siya para makagawa ng isang business and mapalago ito. Then, yung parents niya is in-encourage siya para makagraduate ng degree. But, sabi niya, the longer I waited, the harder it would be to return. Kasi nga, gusto niya maging young entrepreneur kaysa sa mag-aral. Pero kapag nakalago-lago na siguro siya, magiging entrepreneur siya. So, yung student na yun is, lumaki siya sa Boston para may hope na avail siya ng mga ng business niya. So next is, hindi ko na siya sinama sa slides, basahin ko na lang nasa libro naman siya sa page 29. So shockingly, the campus visit did more harm than good. So the ivy-clad campus, known for its charm and majesty, had a gloomy effect on me. I found it to be off-putting and uninspiring. Furthermore, the classes I attended were perfunctory and boring. I am afraid to admit it, but I almost fell asleep during one class titled Leadership, Accountability, and Ethics. In this class, it seemed that no substantive conversation took place, as if the professor and the students were just talking to hear themselves talk. I am sure that there were some redeeming characteristics of this school, but I surely missed them. It could have been that I was out of my league. Regardless, I left the campus visit highly disappointed and eager to head home, back to the exciting life of a start as a CEO. At the end of that day, I realized that my presence was a sign of my giving up, or at best putting on my entrepreneurial dreams. So, yung students na yun is hindi siya konti lang yung mga naaral niya, pero natupad niya yung dreams niya na maging isang entrepreneur. When attending Harvard Business School at the time, if I were accepted, would have been a mistake. So, nung nag-a-attend siya na doon sa school, sabi niya, if I were accepted, would have been a mistake. So, I would have been completely miserable and frustrated. In the same way that college almost smothered my fiery ambition to pursue entrepreneurship. Graduate school would have struggled me. So, hindi siya nakapag-graduate and naging isa siyang successful na entrepreneur kahit hindi siya graduate. So, in the meantime, I do what all successful entrepreneurs do. So, learn as much as possible about business constantly. So, sabi dito, learn as much as possible about business constantly. So, dapat kahit hindi ka nakapag-aral, alam mo at kabisado mo yung magiging business mo. And then that includes subscribing to industry magazines, reading white papers, attending conference. So, yun yung mga ginawa niya. So, one of my mentors heard I was considering Harvard Business School and scolded me. So, he said, "What would that degree do for you?" So, sabi nung isa sa mentors niya noong nag-aaral siya sa Harvard Business School is, what would that degree do for you? So, you do ultimately go back to running your business. You'd lost time and money. You don't need Harvard. Harvard needs you. So, ignoring his head's inflating words, my mentor's argument made pragmatic sense. Considering my unique situation, the opportunity cost of going to school would be too great. In fact, attending school could kill my business altogether. At that point, I realized that obtaining my MBA would probably not be in my near future. Given that, I decided to resort to the next best thing, hiring business school graduates to help me run my business. So, isa sa mentors niya, sinabihan siya kung ano yung pakinabang noon dun sa degree niya. Then, sinagot niya is, kahit na hindi ako nakapag-aral, nakapagpundar ako ng business ko na makakapag pabago ng buhay ko kahit hindi ako nag-aral. So, sabi naman nung you'd lost time and money. So, kaya niya sinabi yun kasi siguro yung students is ayaw niya nang mag-aral, then gumawa siya ng paraan para maging successful siya, kaya nakagawa siya ng business niya and he became an entrepreneur kasi yun yung dream niya. So, that's all my report. Thank you for listening.